Hi, my name is Dave Measle. I'm the Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Peer Support Coalition, and we're really excited to be presenting these videos today. We just continue to grow and continue to do whatever we see is necessary to support the profession of peer services. Which brings us to this video, or these videos. One of the things that we recognize through conversations with other peer specialists and through our own experiences, because most of us who work here and are on the board of directors are peers ourselves. One of the things that we recognized was the need to have some more information out there about what a typical day of a peer specialist looks like. You know, what are the real world things that a peer specialist encounters. The 2-week training is amazing, and as I said, most of us are peers here at the Coalition. We've all been through one of the 2-week trainings, and we all walked out of that training feeling super inspired and super ready to go out and do this work and uplifted, which is awesome. But we wanted to provide some additional information about some of, again, the real world experience of a peer specialist. What does the day-to-day life of a peer specialist look like? What are some of the challenges that peer specialists face while providing this service? Our original vision was to create some in-person classes that people could come to and get information on, and we would create, slideshows and, PowerPoints and things like that. When we actually started to pursue that or discuss it more, it became clear that that wasn't going to be the best, most efficient way to achieve what we wanted to with this project. So then we kind of evolved and moved into creating this series of videos. And so then what we did is we went out and we started talking to other peer professionals, people who are on the ground doing the work face-to-face with peers on a daily basis. So that we could get their perspective on it. We had our own perspectives from our own experiences, but we wanted to gather as much as we could from other peer professionals across the state as well. So we started having these conversations. We sent out surveys, we had focus groups, all around this idea of what would you have liked to have known prior to taking the 2-week course. Knowing what you know now, as a certified peer professional, what's the information that would have been helpful to you before you decided to move in this field or move in this direction? And what we got from these discussions were kind of 6 basic areas that people really felt like they would have liked more information, in making a decision to move into peer work. None of them said that they hoped or wished that they had not moved into this field. Not all were still in the field either. But there were 6 areas that people really wanted more information or would have liked more information. And the areas included things like, what does the day-to-day life of a certified peer specialist look like? What does a day in the life of look like? What does documentation look like? I didn't know anything about documentation before I became a certified peer specialist. I would have liked to have known more. What does the actual certification process look like? How do I become certified? Information on ethics and boundaries. I would have liked to have had more information on that. What does the process through the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation look like? So we took these things and we said, okay, these are the things that we're being told that people wanted more information on. And we developed a set of questions around those topics. And then we went out and we set about finding subject matter experts in Pennsylvania. People who had done the job, who had, been a face-to-face peer for years and had a lot of experience doing this work so that they could share their insights with you. And so we started meeting with them, and what we did is we just set up a camera and sat down and we asked all of them the exact same set of questions, gathering information on these topics that we had been told were things that, you know, people would have liked to have known. And so the following videos is really the result of these interviews, of talking to, as I said, you know, very experienced, very well-spoken certified peer specialists who had a lot of knowledge and a lot of insight to share. So we hope that these videos are going to be viewed by people who are interested in becoming peer professionals, who maybe want a little more information, for people who maybe aren't interested in becoming peer professionals but want to know more about what are peer professionals, like what do peer professionals do. So we're putting these videos out there as an educational piece to teach people or to inform people on peer services and what they are and what a day-to-day life looks like for an individual who does the work and is on the front lines every day. We have really enjoyed making these videos and meeting with these subject matter experts. They have all been amazing partners to work with on this project. We believe what we have to present to you is some really good information, and we certainly hope that you're able to take away some great, helpful, insightful information that will help you make a decision on whether or not you want to become a peer professional. Or if you're not becoming a peer professional, we hope that there's information in these videos that you can take away and walk away and say, huh, now I really get it. I understand what a peer professional is. I understand the work that they do. I understand how important the work that they do is for the community. On behalf of everyone at the Pennsylvania Peer Support Coalition, I want to say thank you for taking the time to watch the videos. Know that we are here, that the coalition exists to support peer professionals and those who support the profession as well. So, you know, if you need us for anything, we are here. Our contact information is in the videos. Feel free to reach out to us. But most of all, thank you for taking the time to watch the videos. And again, we hope that you really get some good information out of them and find them useful. Thank you. In order to become certified as a peer specialist in Pennsylvania, there's a few steps that you need to take. There are some qualifications that you need in order to be a peer support specialist.
They must be at least 18 years of age or older. They, of course, must live or work in Pennsylvania, so we're not certifying peers from Texas or New Jersey. An individual applying for the peer specialist certification must themselves have lived experience with a mental health issue or a co-occurring disorder issue, so that lived experience is a significant component of applying for certification. And the last requirement is within 3 years of applying for certification, that peer specialist must have been employed for at least 12 months or volunteered for 12 months, and that work experience or volunteer experience can be with any employer or any organization outside of peer support. It doesn't have to be peer support employment or peer support volunteer experience. So either that, or they have taken in the last 3 years 24 college credit hours through a college or university.
But the pathway, again, of how you arrive there is going to be individualized, and just know that there are resources available to help you get there, including the Pennsylvania Peer Support Coalition.
So the training is the big requirement for becoming a certified peer specialist. So that's the big task that has to be taken care of, and it's usually done first. So the individual has that kind of core training so that they can go on, if they're not already employed as a peer specialist, they certainly can do that after they've gone through the training.
The first thing you need to do is take one of the 2-week courses offered by one of the 3 approved training vendors in Pennsylvania. There are 3 approved training vendors in Pennsylvania. They are the Copeland Center, RI International, and the Institute for Recovery, which is located in Philadelphia, but they offer classes throughout the state.
So once someone has those requirements met, the training, the work or volunteer or college, 18 years of older, lived experience, then they're ready to apply for certification. Our application for Certified Peer Specialist is just really a couple of pages. It's on our website, or we can email or mail an application to anyone. They would complete the application, submit documentation that it requires, and submit that application to us for review. Once we receive and review an application and approve it, the very last step is there is an examination.
There is a 50-question multiple choice question test that they administer, and once you pass that test, they will issue you your official certificate.
Everyone has an hour and a half to complete that exam. The exam is given online as an online examination. It's also given 4 times a year throughout the state as a paper and pencil exam. So someone who may not be comfortable taking an online exam can wait until there is an exam being given closer to where they live or work, and physically go to a testing site and take the exam via a paper and pencil examination.
However, you are able to work as a peer support specialist and to bill as a peer support specialist for up to 6 months between completing your training and being officially credentialed by the Pennsylvania Certification Board.
Yeah, part of the application is a page where we're going to be asking them certain questions. Are they 18 years of age or older? Do they live or work in Pennsylvania? Have they thoroughly read and agreed to the Peer Specialist Code of Ethics, which is a huge part of the process? They'll have to have that page signed and notarized.
So ethics are set in stone. Right? These are things that we can and can't do. Where boundaries are more personally defined.
So everyone who is certified as a peer specialist in Pennsylvania, everyone who holds the credential from the Pennsylvania Certification Board has to sign the Code of Ethics. There is a uniform code of ethical conduct for all peer support specialists in Pennsylvania. And as part of the credentialing process through the PCB, you'll sign a form saying that you have read it and that you are aware of what those ethical standards are.
We all sign a code of ethics when we apply through the Pennsylvania Certification Board to sit for our exam. Part of that application is signing the Code of Ethics. Well, you're signing a thing that says you read and understand and will abide by the Code of Ethical Conduct. So that's something for you to expect as you're, going through that process.
Recognizing that ethics are a little more set in stone, that they are a uniform code that all peer professionals follow, is important. Recognizing that, a peer professional in Lancaster County is going to be following that exact same code as a CPS who is in Erie County is important. And it was one of the reasons that we created a credential under the Pennsylvania Certification Board. It was so that we could have a uniform code of ethics so that everyone in the entire state knew what the ground rules were, so to speak.
And then boundaries are really, if you think the boundaries of a state, right? It's kind of like this line that demonstrates where you are in one state and not in the other. Boundaries are kind of similar in that sense. For me, like, here's my boundary. I'm okay up until this point, that boundary. Here's where I am not okay and where you will not be allowed to go. One last thing about boundaries, and this has been my experience, I always talked about setting boundaries early and often. Letting people know from the very beginning where those boundaries are. It's much easier to do that in the beginning than to have loose boundaries and do some things that are not acceptable to you, but you don't want to hurt the person's feelings, so you do them anyway, and then having to set boundaries with that person after the fact. So those folks that I was answering the phone for at 9 o'clock at night and doing everything for, when I did set those boundaries after that first 18 months, it didn't go well, because I had showed them up to that point that I had loose boundaries, and they were like, "What do you mean? Where are these coming from?" So really developing those skills to be able to state where the boundaries are, set them early in the beginning, and then moving from there.
The certification is a 2-year certification, and there are certain requirements that you need to meet within those 2 years in order to be able to maintain your certification. Mostly, what you have to do is maintain continuing education hours. And the requirement for that is 36 hours of continuing education over that 2-year period. It is your responsibility as the credentialed individual to keep track of your continuing education hours. Your employer may ask you to turn in certificates, so your employer may also track that, but ultimately, when it comes time for recertification, ultimately it is your responsibility to show that you took those 36 hours of continuing education credits and what they are.